Chapter 15. Understanding and Transforming the Sobriety Saboteurs. We didn't just wake up one morning and decide to drink destructively. Our alcohol habit transpired as a result of negative, unconscious forces which I call sobriety saboteurs. The sobriety saboteurs are destructive subpersonalities that traverse our unconscious. They act as triggers that ignite the maladaptive beliefs of the ism and give rise to relapse. There are four fundamental sobriety saboteurs: guilt, pain, futility, and fear. All other manifestations, such as stress, anxiety, and the lack of confidence, are derivatives. This chapter teaches us how to reframe our experience of the sobriety saboteurs and use it in a way that enables us to transmute contaminated energy into inspiration, joy, wisdom, and creativity, and propel us towards our optimal potential. Guilt. A man should never be ashamed to own that he has been in the wrong, which is but saying, in other words, that he is wiser today than he was yesterday. Alexander Pope. There are two types of guilt: objective and subjective. Objective guilt is a condition caused by violating another person's will or moral code, or breaking the law. Subjective guilt is an awareness of having violated your own moral or ethical standards. Guilt. Justified. Objective, committed an actual transgression. Subjective, inwardly knowing you have compromised your personal ethics or morals. Guilt, unjustified or unfounded. Objective, blaming yourself for something that wasn't your fault. Subjective, believing you are to blame for an imaginary wrongdoing. Paranoia. Guilt can be justified or unfounded. The latter is common amongst people with drink problems. They have a propensity to imagine reasons to feel guilty, with the sole intention of inflicting self-punishment. Their happiness is often sabotaged by corrosive beliefs which instill guilt. To imagine unfounded reasons to feel guilty is a form of paranoia, a term derived from the Greek paranoos, which was used to describe a mental illness in which a delusional belief was the sole or most prominent feature. Paranoia is extremely common amongst drinkers. As a result of frequent alcohol-induced memory loss, their minds become warped and have a tendency to imagine things that didn't happen. Their superego, or conscious, then kicks in and becomes intent on convincing them of how bad they are for the things that never happened. A sure sign of this process being active is being unnecessarily hard on yourself. If you should experience this phenomenon, wake up and stay alert. Recognize it as a destructive ploy of the sobriety saboteurs. To counter these attacks, disarm the sobriety saboteurs with self-love. Self-love and self-disdain are totally incompatible. They cannot coexist. Self-condemnation equals lack of self-love. To eradicate self-inflicted punishment, go within, commune with your inner child, and ply her with love. Remind her of all the good traits and attributes she possesses, and how deserved she is of all the good things in life. Refer to Step 6 and Inner Child Meditation. Undoubtedly, whilst inebriated, especially during blackout, many of us have violated another person in some way. Stealing, aggression, violence, character assassination, emotional blackmail, betrayal, and manipulation are a few common examples. Although these transgressions need to be acknowledged and redressed, there is no benefit in perpetually condemning ourselves. Self-reproach is an example of anger turned inwardly. People with alcohol habits are generally experts at berating themselves. But where does that get them? Ask yourself the following questions. How does self-condemnation help rectify the mistakes you have made in the past? How does self-reproach transform you into a productive human being? How does berating yourself make amends to the persons you have harmed or betrayed? The answer in every instance is it doesn't. Self-condemnation and self-reproach are destructive, futile, and often lead to the need to escape via the bottle. In the words of American psychologist Albert Ellis, the more guilt a person tends to feel, the less chance there is that he will be a happy, healthy, or law-abiding citizen. He will become a compulsive wrongdoer. Dr. Albert Ellis. My personal experience of guilt epitomized these words. It was undoubtedly the biggest obstacle to sobriety that I encountered. Emerging from a drunken stupor was fraught with unbearable feelings of guilt and remorse. In the case where I had transgressed, the degree of guilt evoked was usually disproportionate to the offense committed, exaggerated out of all proportion. Perceiving myself as a compulsive wrongdoer was a tyrannical form of self-punishment, a trait of someone who despises themselves. I was also filled with paranoia. Unfounded guilt and paranoia are frequently linked. Guilt is often endowed with the delusional qualities of paranoia that cannot be shaken by reason or logic. People with alcohol habits often convince themselves that they are bad in response to some wrongdoing that only took place in their mind. People tell us that we are being hard on ourselves, and rationally, we know it. But the corrosive inner dialogue continues to convince us of our badness. We have to expel that voice once and for all. Our first challenge with guilt is to deduce whether it is justified or unfounded. Delusional guilt must be seen for what it is, a specter, an ingrained mechanism for inflicting unwarranted self-punishment. Guilt that is warranted. For example, guilt that arises from violating another person's will or breaking the law should be used as a self-correcting feedback system, not an excuse to punish ourselves. When we acknowledge guilt, we admit to making a mistake. We cannot regress to the past, as in the film Groundhog Day, and correct our actions. But we can vow to learn from our errors. Mistakes, although an integral part of life, are transient. The lessons we learn from them are permanent. By acknowledging our errors and learning from them, we evolve our self-understanding and pave the way for a better quality of life in the future. Mistakes are transient. The lessons we learn from them are permanent. Guilt should be our ally, not our enemy. In fact, we should make it our teacher. When we allow guilt to improve our self-awareness and use its teachings to become better people and improve our quality of life, it has a positive function. It shows us what we need to learn. A life spent making mistakes is not only more honorable, but more useful than one spent doing nothing. George Bernard Shaw. To transform guilt into a productive experience, we need to acknowledge the improvement we have made by recognizing and owning it. In the words of Albert Einstein, a problem cannot be solved from the same level of thinking as that which created it. Acknowledging guilt is an indication that you have attained a higher level of understanding. It shows that you have progressed. Acknowledging a mistake and vowing to utilize the feedback for future improvement is a sure sign that you are adhering to the path of the alchemist. Self-forgiveness. During our drinking escapades, when our moral guidance system was out of action, and alcoholic amnesia rendered our memory inactive, many of us performed actions we weren't proud of. Fought, betrayed, stole, deceived, drove while drunk, and so on. These things are undoubtedly unacceptable. They violate moral and ethical standards. However, becoming the perpetual wrongdoer and permanently berating yourself bears no fruits whatsoever. Rather than helping you to achieve the goal of becoming a respected and useful citizen, Condemning yourself simply causes you to sink deeper into a pit of unworthiness. The whole point of retribution is to relieve guilt, not to accentuate it. To help alleviate residual guilt from your drinking days, it is worth reminding yourself of the words of Jesus during his crucifixion. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. In making this statement, Jesus acknowledges that the people persecuting him had been programmed to act without thinking. They were responding unconsciously. In the same way, you were programmed to act unconsciously during your drinking days. Guilt and retribution are only applicable in situations involving conscious intent to harm. Any harm you inflicted during your drinking days was not consciously intended. It was a side effect of your psychological disposition at the time, a way of externalizing your internal turmoil. Being an unconscious act, it is exempt from blame. I'm not condoning unacceptable behavior, and I must emphasize that we need to learn from the feedback we receive from such mistakes. However, to become a productive member of society, you must forgive yourself. By eliciting the lessons imparted by your mistakes, you move forward. The best way to make amends is through productive service to society. And you cannot serve society whilst you're preoccupied with berating yourself. Futility. A common experience for the newly sober person is a profound sense of futility, a belief that there's nothing worth living for. When the honeymoon period subsides, the world is often perceived as a desolate wasteland, bereft of meaning. This is a serious threat to sobriety and shouldn't be taken lightly. Remember, alcoholism is an escape mechanism. When a person finds life boring and meaningless, it becomes unbearable and warrants escape. As a result, the unconscious mechanisms that propel them towards drink are easily reactivated. Research and experience has taught me that futility often give rise to relapse, escape. Two reasons for this have become highly apparent. People have identity crisis and no longer know who they are. People have not connected with their ultimate purpose, a purpose that fills them with passion and inspiration, commonly called life's purpose. To rise and overcome the challenge of futility, each of us has to develop an awareness of what really interests us. Eliciting our core beliefs and values is an excellent starting point. As we rekindle our relationship with that which is truly meaningful to us, we also resurrect our true identity. Too often, people sculpt their identity and careers from other people's influences and expectations. Cultural, societal, and family influences are immensely persuasive. But shaping our identities and molding our careers in compliance with other people's ideas is a recipe for discontent. We must be true to ourselves and honor our innermost values if we are to realize our optimal potential. Unveiling your authentic self. When you let go of what you are, you become what you might be. Lao Tzu. The concept of self is a topic of much debate in psychological circles. However, it is commonly agreed that the messages we internalize from other people during the course of our lives constitutes a large part of what we refer to as I and me. From birth onwards, we internalize messages from significant others. Parents, teachers, clergymen, peers, siblings, and so on. We are given a name, assigned a number of roles, and placed into certain categories. Technician, student, English, father, uncle, slim, heavy, good, bad, and so on. From these messages emerges an identity, a mental construct of who we consider ourselves to be. That part of ourselves we refer to as I or me. For instance, before I embarked on this journey and evolved my understanding of the concept of self, if someone had asked me the question, "Who are you?" I'd have answered, Paul Henderson from Liverpool, English, 5'9", blue eyes, medium build, computer technician, uncle, son, brother, and then listed all my attributes and shortcomings. At this point, something startlingly obvious emerges. I am not a constant. I am a collection of labels, roles, and beliefs. I, or my ego, as the idea of who we think we are is often referred to, is a phantom. If I change my name, my roles, and my beliefs, I still exist. Therefore, my ego cannot be my authentic self. Deluded into thinking that this fictitious I is our only self, we adhere to the indoctrinated beliefs that it embodies, the negative messages we have internalized over the course of our lives. Incompetent, unlovable, deficient, unwanted, bad, powerless, wrong, imperfect, useless, reject, or whatever. If left unchallenged, those corrosive beliefs will determine our capabilities. What we believe is possible in life, if we blindly subscribe to these beliefs, we will never attain our true potential. But remember, they have only transpired as a result of internalizing other people's negative messages about us. What qualifications do these people have to make them such experts in our lives? Answer: none. Most people cast aspersions on others as a means of covering up their own character defects and shortcomings. When we live life unconsciously, we accept them without question and allow them to pollute our self-perception. But not anymore. Now you are living life consciously. You can choose to jettison this emotional and mental debris and make way for an abundance of self-love. When we become indifferent to the good opinion of others and shed the negative baggage of our past, we open a channel to our indwelling divinity and embrace the infinite potential of our authentic self. Transpersonality. Did you know that every cell of your body changes within a 2-year period? Yes, you are outliving the death of your physical body on a constant basis. To deepen the mystery, radioisotope studies have shown us that trillions of atoms that have passed through your body in the last few weeks have also passed through the bodies of every other species on this planet. Yes, that's also correct. You don't even have a permanent license on your own body. It's part of a much greater whole. Every atom belonging to you as well belongs to me. Walt Whitman, American poet. The physical body is akin to a running stream, forever replenishing itself in every moment. We are constantly making new body parts. The skin you have now is not the skin you had 6 months ago. The skeleton you have now is not the one you had a year ago. In fact, your whole body is different from the one you had only a couple of years ago. In addition to our physicality changing constantly, our beliefs and feelings are transient too. So how can we claim to have a self that is constant and authentic? To answer this question, we have to transcend the limitations of our conditioning and enter the transpersonal realm of being. Our true self is in this world, but not of it. We are in this world, but not of it. Jesus. Scientists have deduced that our brains is the executor of commands, but not the issuer of them. They have searched every orifice of the brain in a quest to find the phenomenal intelligence that not only has the power to override the brain, but also correlates the trillions of transactions per second needed to keep us alive. To date, their search has been to no avail. The only thing we can be certain of is that within each and every one of us, there exists a formless intelligence of inconceivable power. This aspect of ourselves was never born and will never die. It is eternal, infinitely wise, and incomprehensibly creative. When we break through the constant noise of our internal dialogue and transcend the boundaries of rational thought, we access a part of ourselves that never changes, a field of pure being. This aspect is known by different names in different belief systems: soul, Atman, higher self, indwelling, divinity, daemon, spirit, and guardian angel. It is supremely concentrated in the here and now, the present moment. It is often simply referred to as presence. When we allow life to unfold from this level of our being, there is no challenge too great. Our indwelling divinity can provide instantaneous answers to every challenge life beholds. It is a counselor, psychologist, psychic, philosopher, doctor, artist, genius, guru, avatar, and seer, all rolled into one refined being. In addition to being the causal principle behind all of creation, this field of pure intelligence is also the gateway to infinite bliss. Our indwelling divinity is forever present, softly whispering wise words through the silent gaps between our thoughts. We get so immersed in the constant chatter of our internal dialogue, however, that we don't hear it. Instead of bathing in the wise counsel of our essential being, we become embroiled in the chaos of our conditioned consciousness. The higher self is not some alien being that has invaded our personal space, an anomaly that should be treated with reservation, ridicule, or contempt. It is our authentic self. To the detriment of our well-being, our conditioning has taught us to discard the internal God. Yet all profound religious and spiritual literature tells us that the kingdom of God is within. Why take counsel from the screwed-up pseudo-self we call ego when we have this phenomenal aspect of our being at our disposal? All our wise forefathers and creative geniuses throughout the ages have tapped into this aspect of their being and achieved profound results. Insights, foresights, major scientific breakthroughs, novel ideas, and peace. To reconnect with our indwelling divinity is to come home. The following steps offer a template to start the process of reunifying with your essential self. 1. Establishing rapport. The first step is to open a line of communication with your indwelling divinity and establish rapport. Quiet your internal dialogue by simply observing it. Don't get embroiled in your thoughts. Simply watch them go by. Next, focus on any question that is pressing at the moment. Listen in silence for the answer. Finally, have an expectation that your relationship with your higher self will deepen on a daily basis. 2. Redefine your agreement with reality. We are conditioned as children to discard the true nature of reality in favor of a materialistic worldview. If it's not solid, it's not real. As modern-day science tells us, this is nonsense. The underlying principle of life is an all-pervading field of intelligence. Our interface with this divine principle is our higher self. As our awareness breaks through the confines of our rational mind, we enter a domain of existence where everything is possible, a field of infinite possibilities. In this domain, there is no linear time or space. You may think of time as vertical. You do not have to wait for your desires to manifest. Every possibility already exists. You just have to choose from the infinite possibilities available to you. 3. Solitude. Your higher self presents itself in silence. Make regular space for solitude and being, as opposed to doing. Sit quietly with no expectations. Give time and space for your inner wisdom to make itself heard. Listen for the gentle whispers that echo through the peripheries of your mind. Bathe in the embryo of love you find yourself encapsulated in. 4. Meditation. Meditation is not a practice that will just prolong your life, make you look younger, and give you the equivalent of 8 hours sleep in 20 minutes. Although it does accomplish these things, it is a practice that will discipline your mind and silence the internal chatter that constantly detracts from your primary focus. Placing your awareness on your breath is an excellent meditation discipline, or simply focusing on a flickering candle flame. To assist your introduction to meditation, I have provided a series of audio-guided meditations that are freely available on our website, https://alc2alc.com. 5. Keeping an inventory. Recording your feelings, thoughts, dreams, and insights and foresights is an excellent way of accentuating your understanding of how your higher self and the universe operate. You can ask your indwelling divinity questions and record whatever insights or answers you receive. If you do this regularly, you will be amazed at the results. Your belief and expectancy will increase. As a consequence, a profound shift in consciousness will take place. 6. Regular communication with the wise witness within. Conduct a regular dialogue with your indwelling divinity. Each morning, affirm the following. Today, I will allow life to unfold from the wisdom of my indwelling divinity. Just watch the radical transformation in your life as your higher self provides instantaneous solutions to problems. Talk to your indwelling divinity as though it was your best friend. Ask questions. Reveal your fears and ask for guidance. Most importantly, listen for answers and become aware of the synchronistic happenings in your life. 7. Life lessons. Discern the lessons you are encountering and elicit the teachings. Look at life as an adventure in which you have to detect the ways in which the universe speaks to you. Remember, your higher self is the interface between you and the universal mind. Learn to operate constantly from the level of your indwelling divinity, as the workings of your formless essence becomes increasingly evident. Your ultimate path will become increasingly clear. 8. Dreams. Your higher self will speak to you through dreams. Before going to sleep, your conscious mind, sometimes called the critical factor, is quiet. So the channel to your higher self is open and clear. Take advantage of this opportunity and ask your higher self a question, or simply hold the question in your mind. Expect an answer during your sleep. On awakening, recall whatever you can of your dream and record it in your journal. Discern the teachings. 9. Mindfulness. Focus on living in the present whilst going through your daily business. Become aware of that part of you that is experiencing life, that still center within that is undeterred by events in the material world. Concentrate supremely on the present moment and remember the following saying. Yesterday is history. Tomorrow's a mystery. So live for today. Most problems are created by living in the past or projecting into the future. The only time we ever have is now. By allowing life to unfold from the eternal continuum of the present, you will radically diminish stress and anxiety. 10. Unification. Becoming one with your higher self. The objective of all spiritual practices is to become one with your higher self. So far, you have gained rapport and walked alongside your eternal essence. These practices suggest duality. They imply there are two of you. Ironically, the one you have identified with most of your life is fictitious, a mental construct. The only real you is your indwelling divinity. It's now time to reclaim your rightful heritage and totally surrender to your higher self. Living on purpose. When you are inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary project, all your thoughts break their bonds. Your mind transcends limitations. Your consciousness expands in every direction. and you find yourself in a new, great, and wonderful world. Dormant forces, faculties, and talents become alive, and you discover yourself to be a greater person by far than you ever dreamed yourself to be. Patanjali. When we were young, we were original, inventive, and adventurous. Anything was possible. We were not afraid to dream our dreams and aspire to achieve great things. Inspiration is something we were, not something we sought. During these magical years, we were very aware of our Dharma, a spiritual principle that says we all have a unique purpose in life, a unique gift to bestow on the world. But as time elapsed, our dreams, aspirations, and purpose became distant memories as we were cloned to accept mediocrity and conformity. To be different was deemed a cardinal sin, punishable by true joy and fulfillment. We are all born originals. Why is it so many of us die copies? Edward Young. It is not until the noon of life, commonly called the midlife crisis, a time when all hell breaks loose as people reevaluate their outdated values and beliefs, that the lucky ones reconnect with their purpose. Majority of the population just trudge on, disguising their anguish and monotony with addictions, drugs, alcohol, spending, eating, and sex. Anything that enables them to escape the futility of their mundane existence. But these fixes are temporary, illusory, and often destructive. They are misguided attempts to attain the wholeness that can only be achieved by reconnecting to our ultimate reason for living, our life's purpose. When we discover our Dharma, our lives take on a new dimension. Our mission is a desire of the universe seeking manifestation through us. When we connect with it, the whole universe conspires to help us. Thoughts, solutions, ideas, and creativity permeate our minds. Unexpected situations arise. People appear from nowhere to direct us. This all seems to happen automatically, as though some hidden force is orchestrating our destiny from another place. And so it is. These seemingly unexplainable and disconnected happenings are all engineered by the same creative intelligence. The thoughts, ideas, hunches, situations, and people that illume our path and guide us forward are all different manifestations of the same intelligence. At the most primordial level of being, everything is interconnected and interrelated. Ultimately, we are all one. No man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. If a clod be washed away by the sea, Europe is the less, as well as if a promontory were, as well as a manner of thy friends. Or of thine own were, any man's death diminishes me, because I am involved in mankind, and therefore never send to know for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. John Donne. Uncovering our purpose. Finding my unique purpose was a gradual process rather than an instant realization. Little by little, over a number of years, it was revealed, evoking an ever-increasing sense of excitement within me. When the mystery finally revealed itself, I experienced the truth of Patanjali's words above. My thoughts did indeed break all their bonds. My mind transcended all limitations, and my consciousness expanded in every direction. What a liberating experience! I had misguidedly searched for feelings of ecstasy and liberation in a bottle for many years. Now, my body produced them naturally, free of charge, and without any adverse side effects. I can only describe the whole experience as a homecoming. As my awareness accentuated above the constricting beliefs of my ego, and I allowed every day to unfold from the wisdom and creativity of my indwelling divinity, I found myself in a new, great, and wonderful world. I now realize that my life hadn't simply been a series of random catastrophes designed solely to destroy me. Rather, it had been a perfect unfolding of circumstances that enabled me to realize my dharma. My purpose, I realized, was to evolve my understanding of the human experience and explore its relationship to the transpersonal aspects of being. I was to disperse my findings by way of books, seminars, workshops, and courses. With this wonderful insight knowledge, my whole perspective of life changed dramatically. The trials and tribulations still came and went, but my purpose, like the clear blue skies beyond the thunderous clouds, remained forever present. Every day became an adventure. Each of the 60,000 thoughts that traversed my mind had the potential to take me on a journey. My mind, I realized, was a field of infinite possibilities. I experienced two distinct types of thought: verbally constructed thought, thoughts comprised of words emerging as a result of internalizing the dialogue of other people, and thoughts broadcast from my indwelling divinity. The latter were so easily discernible, they filled me with the inspiration and enthusiasm. They set me alight inside. Each inspiring impulse emerging from the depths of my soul generated copious amounts of enthusiasm. It is interesting to note the term entheos, the root for the word enthusiasm. It means in spirit. Enthusiasm is a sign that we are operating from spirit. Everything is born in spirit. What we perceive as empty space is actually teeming with intelligence. The intelligence that gives rise to everything in existence. Spirit. Within spirit, every possibility already exists. The possibility of you being a famous actress. The possibility of you being a renowned author, movie star, or entrepreneur. Literally, every scenario already exists. You just have to choose from the infinite possibilities. People who achieve great things don't have exclusive rights on creativity. It is freely available to anyone. The only thing that differentiates them from you is that they have broken their agreement with reality and harnessed their true potential. You are a unique manifestation of the intelligence responsible for all creation. Therefore, you are capable of creating anything you desire. Does our life's purpose have to become some extraordinary mission? No, not at all. Just something that gives you great joy. Steve, my friend whose story appears in the beginning of this book, remained in the same employment for 45 years, that of refuse collector. He took great pride in cleaning up the garbage on the streets, saying that every time he performed his job, he also purged his mind of the mental and emotional debris that blocked his connection to his indwelling divinity. Choosing to serve the public in such a humbling way helped him maintain his equilibrium. Steve is a living tribute to the following Zen proverb. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. When people attain an enlightened state, they don't necessarily change their roles. They do, however, perceive what they do in a completely different light. Mother Teresa described purpose in the following way. Do small things with great love. Whether your purpose involves some great feat or simply accomplishing small things with great love, know that it is the will of God manifesting through you. Whatever it is of great importance. Your talents are unique. Bestow them on the world and allow everyone to reap the benefits. Hide not your talents. They, for use, were made. What's a sundial in the shade? Benjamin Franklin. If you want to make a difference in this world, you cannot afford to follow the herd. You must become the shepherd. Rather than following the path people have tread before you, Make your own path and leave a trail for others to follow. When your time comes to depart this life, don't let your resting place be in the ground. Let it be in the hearts of all those you have touched. When you were born, you cried, and the world rejoiced. Live your life so that when you die, the world cries and you rejoice. Pain. We must embrace pain and burn it as fuel for our journey. Kenji Miyazawa, poet and author. This section centers on psychological or emotional pain, not physical pain. Although, as with physical pain, psychological pain is a signal from our mind or body system that some pressing issue needs attention. There are positive aspects on pain that cannot be attained through pleasure. Pain is a highly efficient warning system, similar to the antivirus software on your computer. It alerts you of potential problems. If left unattended, a computer virus has the capacity to render the whole system dysfunctional. Unresolved issues have exactly the same capacity. Unacknowledged pain renders the mind dysfunctional and veils your true potential. So, it's important to take heed of your warning system and act on its alerts. I do not subscribe to the belief that there is no gain without pain, as it suggests that the only way to evolve is through pain, and that is simply untrue. However, transmuting pain does often result in forward propulsion. Pain is an invitation to explore the hidden realms of our minds and resolve the issues that have impeded us for years. This process is rewarding, insightful, and extremely liberating. Despite the obvious benefits of processing and jettisoning our mental and emotional baggage, however, our culture teaches us to deny them, misguidedly believing they will dissolve of their own accord when pushed to the peripherals of our mind. This destructive fallacy couldn't be further from the truth. Conscious exclusion of emotional issues leads to repression, the process by which the contents of our conscious mind are banished to the unconscious. Although these issues are forgotten, no longer accessible to the conscious mind, they continue to gather momentum in the unconscious. Repressed material must find a means of expression, and it often does so by assuming a variety of menacing guises. Phobias, fears, obsessions, addictions, mood swings, aggression, and low self-esteem. Sigmund Freud once relayed the following metaphor to relay the adverse effects of such action. I once had a student who was extremely troublesome and disruptive. In my quest to alleviate his negative influence, I ordered him to leave the classroom and wait in the corridor outside. Without objection, he stood up and removed himself. To my dismay, once out of sight, his bad behavior escalated, and he caused a deluge of destruction. The moral of the story is as follows. Banishing problems from memory doesn't cure them. It simply moves them to a place where we can no longer see them. In this hidden place, they gather momentum and mount an assault on our lives. That often causes conflict, pain, and destruction. Remember, we can't disarm an adversary we cannot see. Don't hide your problems, solve them. Pain. Pay attention and identify the need. Alcohol is a great anesthetic capable of temporarily disguising pain. But when the anesthetic wears off, the pain is worse than ever. So, anesthetizing pain with alcohol is futile. In addition, when you use alcohol to quell psychological turbulence, you cannot extract the teachings enveloped in the pain. Pain is a ploy for your attention. Heed its signals and extract its teachings. Ultimately, pain has the primary objective of informing you of a deficit or lack. Without exception, all psychological pain transpires from ignoring at least one of your primary needs. With this in mind, next time pain arises, vow to pay attention and identify the need. Stamp this acronym in your mind in indelible ink. Pain. Pay attention. Identify need. As soon as you experience pain, find a quiet place and allow yourself to experience it in its entirety. The healing is in its awareness, in not shrinking from it. In the same way as nature heals a physical wound, all psychological healing comes from awareness. The more we make the source of our pain conscious, the deeper the healing effect. Accepting pain without resistance and showing courage, endurance, and a willingness to learn are all that's needed. As you monitor the bodily sensations and inner dialogue that accompany it, ask the source of the pain what it needs for healing to take place. Listen carefully to the answers. Sometimes silence has the loudest voice. It is the medium through which your soul speaks. So, be still and know the universe is with you. The recoiled spring effect. When we feel pain, we have a tendency to recoil. Our body constricts and we push everything down. The effect is similar to a recoiled spring in that when we squeeze the ends together, it has a natural tendency to push back. If we want to keep it recoiled, we have to exert pressure and expend energy. Herein lies the key to transforming pain. Ancient wisdom, such as the Kabbalah, teaches us that a downfall precedes most of the major advances in life. When we experience a painful situation, we often push it down into our unconscious. But like the recoiled spring, this repressed energy will push back. We can either waste vital energy on countering this forward thrust and become exhausted and depleted as a result, or harness it and allow it to propel us forward. Don't internalize pain. Focus it externally and use it to manifest your goals. Summary. Psychological pain is a signal that some pressing issues need our attention. If left unattended, such issues cause dysfunction. Unacknowledged pain veils your true potential. Without exception, all psychological pain transpires from ignoring at least one of your primary needs. Pain equals pay, attention, and identify the need. When we resolve painful issues, we free up a vast amount of potential energy that can be used for other activities. Don't internalize pain. Focus it externally and use it to manifest your goals. Fear. What we seek, we shall find. What we flee from, flees from us. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Undoubtedly, some manifestations of fear are life-sustaining, wise, and motivating. Instinctual fear, for example, is an emotional response to a threat, a basic survival mechanism. Without it, the human being would have become extinct. However, the type of fear we will be examining here is neither motivating nor wise. It is of the type portrayed by the FDR in the following statement. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Nameless, unreasoning, unjustified, terror which paralyzes needed efforts to convert retreat into advance. Franklin D. Roosevelt. Most fears are distorted fabrications of the mind and have very little to do with current reality. The mind makes interpretations based on past experience. When a current situation triggers negative or traumatic unconscious material within us, the conscious mind's protective element kicks in and overcompensates by distorting the potential threat or degree of danger that confronts us. Most incidences of fear are distorted fabrications of the mind. As Franklin Roosevelt points out, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. The stimulus giving rise to fear is very rarely the problem. The way we interpret it is often the great disabler. Fear takes an experience, distorts it out of all proportion, and then uses it to paralyze us. Fear makes the wolf bigger than he is. German proverb. Example: Joe's misinterpretation. Joe, 15, asks Shirley, a girl he's always adored from a distance, for a date. Shirley declines. Joe is speechless and wants the earth to swallow him up. The corrosive inner dialogue begins. You are ugly. Not good enough. Boring. Who'd want to date you? And so on. Subsequently, when Joe is attracted to a female, fear intervenes. Don't ask her out. It's dangerous. Remember last time? It'll only end in tears and rejection. Epilogue. Joe refrains from asking women out for the next 10 years. His fear of rejection led to a need to escape, and he developed a destructive alcohol problem. One day, quite unexpectedly, he bumped into Shirley. She promptly introduced the girl at her side as her partner. This is a typical example of fear paralysis. Joe's life script. The messages he'd internalized throughout his life had instilled in him a sense of inferiority. Shirley, declining his invitation, acted as a stimulus to evoke his inferiority complex. The resulting interpretation, made through the filters of his memory, was totally erroneous. She didn't dislike him, she was gay. Joe spent 10 years of his life running away from a mere fabrication of his mind. Don't be harnessed by mental and emotional pollution. Embrace life, step out of your comfort zone, and claim what is rightfully yours. A ship anchored in a safe harbor cannot explore the oceans. Fabricated experience. Artificial reasoning. The key to understanding fear begins with the observation that it is intimately connected to our thoughts and the way in which we interpret experience. Fear is often simply fabricated experience supported by artificial reasoning that has no bearing on reality whatsoever. Fear. Fabricated experience, artificial reasoning. Deep, unexpressed fears are often the result of unresolved past issues. Vowing to understand them entails embarking on an insightful inner journey, whereas unenlightened people see fears as obstacles to be avoided. The alchemist sees them as opportunities to transform. As Joe's story epitomizes, nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Marie Curie. All fear can be alleviated with understanding. Take the following example. Robert's fear of spiders. Robert had a great fear of spiders. Every time he saw one, he broke out into a cold sweat and went into panic. When I regressed him during a hypnotherapy session, he found himself in the kitchen of his childhood home. He had a fascination with insects and would catch them and put them into the fridge. During the session, he started to sob uncontrollably. When I asked what was happening, he said his mother had caught him putting a spider into the fridge. She promptly pulled him by the ear to the bathroom, threw the spider down the toilet, poured lighter fuel on it, and burnt it. Robert understandably experienced trauma. As this episode happened when he was only 7 years of age, he had forgotten it. It had been repressed. But the trauma represented itself every time he saw a spider. This experience had left him with a strong association between spiders and trauma. So every time he saw a spider, he had an reaction and panicked. Once this was brought into the light of consciousness and explained to him, and the traumatic incident was worked through and resolved, his fear of spiders disappeared. As Marie Curie points out, there was nothing to fear. Understanding was all that was needed. Before we address some common fears and look at the underlying beliefs that give rise to them, let's bear in mind one last extremely important point. People procrastinate when dealing with fear because they think their fear must subside before they tackle the issue evoking it. If this was the case, many fears would go unchallenged for a lifetime. all the great people in history had one thing in common. They all had courage. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is a willingness to act despite the presence of fear. Following is a short list of common fears along with the underlying beliefs that give rise to them, their manifestations, and some suggestions of how to counteract them. Fear of abandonment. Underlying beliefs. Nobody cares about me. Nobody wants to know me. I'm all alone. I'm insignificant and transparent. I'm bad, defective, and unworthy. Manifestations. Compensatory behavior for this fear often manifests as a deep need to be included in everything and an overeagerness to be part of everything. Whether the pursuit or activity is enjoyable or not is of no real consequence. The objective is to avoid exacerbating feelings of abandonment. Antidote. Inner child work. Fear of rejection. Underlying beliefs. I'm a burden. I'm boring. I'm not good enough. I'm unattractive. Manifestations. People with a fear of rejection often become insular and unwilling to risk forging friendships and relationships. Many exclaim that they are better off alone, whilst inwardly harboring a deep desire to connect in meaningful ways with other people. Starting employment is often particularly problematic. Many shy away from it, fearing they won't be accepted by their new colleagues. Others overcompensate by presenting themselves as incredibly popular and interesting. Yet, their ability to sustain this facade is highly dependent on how others respond. Antidote. Inner child. Fear of failure. Underlying beliefs. I'm useless. I never get anything right. I'm stupid. I'm a disaster waiting to happen. Manifestations, nervousness, severe lack of confidence, stagnancy, and a reluctance to attempt anything. Antidote. Inner child work. Remember, there is no failure, only feedback. When we attempt something and don't achieve the results we expected, we haven't failed. We have achieved a result. What we do with the result is what counts. If we use it to refine our strategies and improve our future efforts, then we have transformed a perceived deficit into an asset, which is the essence of alchemy. The root belief of all fears is inferiority. Inferiority is the underlying theme running through all the examples of fear outlined above. Overcompensatory behavior for an inferiority complex often manifests as a need to prove that one is better than others. But this often results in alienation and loneliness. To thoroughly alleviate inferiority, you have to recognize that it has emerged as a result of internalizing negative comments from significant people throughout your life. To address the catalyst, you must nourish your inner child with loving nurturance and counteract this negativity. Refer to the inner child exercise. Summary core points of this chapter. The concept of self is merely a construct developed from internalizing and subscribing to other people's opinions and influences. It is not a fixed or absolute entity. Remove the labels, roles, and beliefs that constitute the idea of who you think you are, and you still exist. Therefore, the self-construct cannot be your true essence. You are much more than a set of indoctrinated beliefs, assigned roles and labels. You are an inexorable bundle of vibrant energy, composed of the same fabric as the creative source of the universe. Our indwelling divinity or higher self is a formless, eternal field of phenomenal intelligence, capable of providing instantaneous solutions to any of life's challenges. Allowing life to unfold from this level of being brings liberation and abundance. Unwarranted guilt is highly corrosive. Counteract it with self-love. Warranted guilt should be used as a self-correcting feedback system. Futility does not exist in the external world. It exists only in us. The two primary causes are responsible: loss of identity and loss of purpose. Reconnect with your true self and discover your life's purpose. Embrace pain and burn it as fuel for your journey. Fear makes the wolf appear bigger. Most fear is fabricated experience supported by artificial reasoning. Don't let it paralyze you. Remember, courage is not the absence of fear. It is your willingness to act despite fear. Exercise. Pain meditation. Sit comfortably and quietly. Let your body relax. Breathe gently. As you exhale, let go of any tension and anxiety. Allow past and future to dissipate, and let your plans pale into insignificance. Just be present. Allow your unconscious mind to present any unresolved issues for resolution. Allow the source of the pain to emerge: childhood, relationships, employment, or whatever. Focus on the pain. Allow the memories to arise. Feel their energy and become aware of the physical sensations in your body. Awareness is the healing source of all your problems. Don't judge the issue, just observe it. Allow your awareness to permeate it. Remain receptive and embrace any lessons. Allow your higher self to cradle you throughout. Breathe softly and let the experience expand. Be aware of any aversion or resistance in your mind. Place your awareness on the resistance and just allow it to be. Thank it for its concern and acknowledge that it is only trying to protect you. But know that it has served its purpose and allow it to disperse in its own time. Now, notice the thoughts and fears that accompany the pain you are exploring. It was their fault. It will never go away. I can't stand it. And so on. Let these thoughts rest in your awareness. Let your attention penetrate the problem. Bring your attention to the pain and hold it in gentle repose. In your own time, allow your awareness to return behind the windows of your eyes. Center yourself. Feel the gentle pull of gravity on your shoulders. Ground yourself. Then, open your eyes and familiarize yourself with your surroundings. As we gradually bring to our awareness that which we have previously banished, our mind begins to heal. During this process, we must pay careful attention to the sensations that traverse our bodies. We can heighten our awareness and notice the patterns of our breathing, our posture, our back, our chest, our stomach. In all these areas, we can sense expansion or contraction as we release or hold onto our issues. When you meditate, try to allow whatever arises to move through you until it dissipates, as it surely will. Grief, anger, jealousy, loneliness, and sorrow can all be alleviated with pure attention. Observation can dissolve any issue. Just stay with it. As time elapses, your breathing will soften and you will open to deeper layers of emotion. Let your awareness penetrate these too, until you experience a profound sense of peace. Exercise. Dreams. Find yourself a comfortable space, a place where you will be free of interruptions. Relax and focus on your breath. Notice the rise and fall of your stomach as you inhale and exhale. Feel the warmth of your breath. As you exhale, let go of any tension, anxiety, and stress. Let it all dissipate into the ether, and breathe in a profound sense of peace. Breathe out tension. Breathe in peace. Continue this cycle for a couple of minutes. Now, let this scene come to mind. You awaken from a drunken stupor. Your head feels like a home to a swarm of bees, buzzing and pounding. You're slumped on a settee in an unfamiliar room. Someone put you up last night, but you can't remember who. A feeling of nausea arises in your stomach, and you break into cold sweats. You race into the kitchen and throw your head over the sink just in time to throw up last night's concoction of poisonous liquids. The stench of vomit fills your nostrils. It reeks. Your body starts to shake uncontrollably, and suddenly everything goes dark. You awake, disoriented. A friend is standing over you. "What happened?" you ask sheepishly. "I was upstairs and I heard a bang. I rushed down and found you collapsed on the floor, foaming at the mouth and convulsing." Your friend answers. Suddenly, you become aware of the stench of urine hanging in the air. You look down to find your trousers saturated. The embarrassment would have been unbearable, only for the fact you feel so ill as not to care. You're dehydrating. So, you ask your friend for a glass of water. When he passes it to you, your hands are shaking so much that you are unable to take it off of him. He's a true friend. Understanding your predicament, he puts the glass to your lips. You gulp down the water with the desperation of a man who has been lost in the desert for months. Your mind begins to drift to your loved ones. They have no idea where you are. Their faces drift across your screen of consciousness. Their eyes filled with despair as they wonder where you are and what you're doing. You become imbued with a deep sense of guilt and remorse. The pain is unbearable, although you are emaciated through lack of food, and your skin has a yellow cast due to damaged liver. You desperately want to escape. You want more alcohol. Again, your body begins to convulse and everything goes black. You awake in a strange bed. You can vaguely make out the people surrounding you. One is a doctor who was talking to your loved ones. One by one, you look into their eyes. Some are crying openly and need consoling. Others are rigid with disbelief. You try to talk to them, but you realize they cannot hear you. The doctor pulls the sheet over your head. You jump up with a start and realize you are in your own bed. You had just experienced a nightmare. Or was it a prophecy of what will happen if you continue your present course? You put your head back on the pillow and drift back to sleep. Another scene materializes. Again, you find yourself on the floor of your friend's house. An ambulance arrives and you are whisked off to hospital. On the way, a wise voice echoes through your mind saying, "You weren't born to be this way. There is an answer." This voice has a profound effect on you. You are admitted to hospital and give the necessary vitamins and drugs to restore you to good physical health. After a few days, your appetite returns and you start to eat again. The sobriety saboteurs now mount their assault. First, guilt. As you are overwhelmed with a deep sense of remorse, the wise witness within speaks once again. The best way to escape your problems is to solve them, dear one. Up to now, you have known no different. You have felt compelled to drink to destruction. You have acted unconsciously, and therefore, you can relinquish responsibility for your misdeeds and forgive yourself. Love yourself, dear one. Know you are worthy of love. Think of all the good deeds you have performed for others during the course of your life. Think of all the good deeds you intend to carry out in the future. Let that sense of goodness expand within you. Let it multiply 1,000-fold. Your guilt subsides. You forgive yourself for past transgressions and focus on the good you can do with your life. You vow to take control of your life and accept the consequences from this moment forth. Now, the second sobriety saboteur mounts its assault: pain. Your mind is filled with disturbing vestiges of the past, mistreatment, bullying, rejection, abandonment, or some other form of negative experience. You feel the urge to escape arising, but once again, the wise witness within intervenes. There are positive aspects to pain that it cannot be attained through pleasure, dear one. Pain is a highly efficient warning system, similar to the antivirus software on your computer. It alerts you of potential problems. If left unattended, computer viruses have the capacity to render the whole system dysfunctional. Unresolved issues have exactly the same capacity. Unacknowledged pain renders the mind dysfunctional and limits your true potential. So, take heed of your cognitive warning system and act on its alerts, dear one. Transmuting pain often results in a renewed passion for life. As you disperse polluted energy and transform it back into potential energy, you will be filled with great vitality and a reward sense of clarity. The pain you are experiencing is an invitation to explore the hidden realms of your mind and resolve issues that have impeded your life for years. The process is rewarding, insightful, and liberating. Something in you shifts. You realize that pain is an invitation to evolve, a chance to discover something about yourself, a chance to transmute polluted energy into potential energy and increase your vitality and passion for life. You vow to embrace pain, understand it, and transmute it. Fear and paranoia now try to disturb your equilibrium. Memories of the people you insulted or violated in some way begin to arise. Your mind spins into a paranoid frenzy. You fear people are out to get you. Other fears arise too. Money. How can I pay my bills? I'm in so much debt. What will happen when I get out of this hospital and have to face the consequences of my actions? The wise witness intervenes. Most fears are fabricated distortions of the mind, dear one. Fear makes the wolf seem bigger. Fear stands for fabricated experience and artificial reasoning. In most instances, it is a specter. Don't allow a distortion of your mind to promote stasis and render you inert. Remember, you are a good person and deserve of the best life has to offer. Nothing in life is to be feared, just understood. Your fear subsides. You accept that most fear is unwarranted, a negative predisposition of a warped mind. You vow to remedy that. The final saboteur now tries its hand: futility. You are filled with thoughts that life is a barren wasteland having no meaning or purpose, but the wise witness within tells you otherwise. When you are inspired by some great purpose, some extraordinary project, all your thoughts break their bonds. Your mind transcends limitations. Your consciousness expands in every direction. And you find yourself in a new, great, and wonderful world. Dormant forces, faculties, and talents become alive. And you discover yourself to be a great person by far than you ever dreamed yourself to be. Within your heart, dear one, you hold a purpose, a unique gift to offer the world. Whatever the pursuit or activity, you will find yourself to be an expert in it. This is your ultimate purpose in life, and it will bring great joy and fulfillment. Open your heart, dear one. Discover your gift to the world. Do what you love and love what you do. You suddenly find yourself 5 years into the future. After you left the hospital, someone gave you a book as a gift. A book entitled Alcoholic to Alchemist. You chose the path of the alchemist. You spent the last 5 years turning the base metals of your mind into your psychological wealth inspiration, creativity, joy, wisdom. A rebirth has taken place. You adhere to the philosophy rigorously and with great enthusiasm, and now you glean the rewards. You found your purpose in life and pursued it. You look into the eyes of each member of your family and notice that the despair that once filled them has been supplanted by radiance. The joy of knowing that their treasured family member has returned. Allow the whole scenario to permeate your mind for a while. Then, when you are ready, open your eyes and readjust to your surroundings. Also, see the exercise.